Hello, this is Faith Bernard, the Holistic Entrepreneur, and we're doing a special interview today with the wonderful Jonathan Budd. Jonathan is an absolute icon in the internet and network marketing profession, industry, if you will. He's been a change agent and still is a visionary and someone I've grown to love and respect, and now as a personal friend and not just from afar. So welcome, Jonathan.
Hey, thank you for having me here. It's so good to be here with you and connect with you and have the opportunity to share on this interview.
Hey, very cool. Well, I know that, you're a new dad, so congratulations.
Thank you very
Great
much.
stuff.
I'm enjoying daddy life.
I am so excited for you. And I know that it's going to be an extraordinary adventure. Well, you started on another adventure a few years ago when you decided to get involved with home business, network marketing, internet marketing, and I know a lot of people have heard your story, obviously, but there's a lot of people that haven't. I still run across people that are new to the work that you've done and are excited to hear about the foundation you laid for all of us. And so, share a little bit about your story and how it all got started.
Well, it certainly seems like longer than a few years ago now. It seems like another era, another time. Similar to I think most people, I got started in the network marketing profession, absolutely juiced up on passion and excitement and sleepless nights of wondering, what was going to be possible in my life and where my business was going to go, and hopped up on my dreams and the wealth potential and everything. It was enormously exciting. And then, like most entrepreneurs, you hit reality, right? And you realize that there's a huge gap between where you want to be and where you actually are, and in between that gap is all of the resources, human resources, social resources, financial resources that you don't have. Whether that's skills, whether it's connections, whether it's capital, and so this is the case with absolutely all entrepreneurship. This chasm exists in every instance, and so I met it face on, and you've got two options. Once you meet it, you can either say, man, the amount of work that it takes and how painstaking it is and how difficult it is to cross that gap is just not freaking worth it. I don't give a crap. Somebody else can have their dream. I'm just going to keep, the American one. 2 cars, job, hopefully, white picket fence. But then there's a large group of people, and that's unfortunately that the work that it takes isn't worth it, and they quit. And then there's this crazy group of us, right? This just insane group of people who has no logical basis for reality. We don't function inside of normal, reality. And, the impossible is just very attractive to us. We don't care that everyone says it can't be done, and we don't care that the odds are not in our favor, and we don't care that we're likely going to be a crappy statistic. The impossible itself is just too darn irresistible to not go for it. And I think, we're the crazy ones, we're the daring ones, and we're the ones who also sometimes, reach our dreams and reach our goals and become the inspiration and the stories for everybody else so that they don't give up either. So that's, I guess, how fate would have it, what occurred. And I crossed that chasm, whatever it took,
You did, and I know you started out with a traditional approach to network marketing, right? Probably family, friends, whoever's in your environment. And of course, some people's environments are better than others, and then there is the internet. But a lot of people have a hard time with internet marketing too. You found your way through it at it was really just starting to take off, wasn't it? There weren't a lot of mentors out there for internet marketing. So how did you tap into that, if you will?
It's a great question. I think that it's so fundamentally, and this is like, people will probably hear this and not believe it, but it's so true. It is so not about the outer resources,
That's true.
of which the internet is just one. The internet is this resource. It's this tool. You can wield it, you can use it. There's a million other tools. Fundamentally, what I know propelled my very seemingly rapid, progression in the industry was the inner resources.
Yes.
There was this inner resource that was developed of absolute, resourcefulness, making use of whatever tools I could possibly find, ingenuity, solving problems in testing and, completing hypotheses and just not stopping, determination, passion, vision. These are the true inner resources that make use of whatever the hell is around you. I'm confident, you're like,
I like it. Whatever the hell is around you.
Team, drop me off in the middle of wherever, and I'll figure something out. That's.
There's no water, but we'll get it out of the air. That is so true, and I'm really glad that you're going right to the core here, which is the inner. It's the inner landscape, if you will, that determines what we do with what resources appear. In fact, what resources appear are in large part, if not completely, related to what programs we're running inside.
Absolutely.
And so we all deal with fear. And, you've heard the phrase, feel the fear and do it anyway. Working through fear, overcoming fear, you hear all these things. But fear can also be an ally. So I'm curious how you addressed how were you in relationship with your fears so that you really had that working for you instead of against you?
Yeah, totally. Well, I think that quote, necessity is the mother of all invention, freaking true. I mean, I was down to like my last dollar. I had cut off every expense known to man. I'd moved back in with my parents so that I could basically extend my runway as long as possible, right? What was the runway I had before I was absolutely broke and needed to get some type of job? So I cut off as many expenses as humanly possible and just said, I'm going to give myself a runway to just go at this. So yeah, I mean, there's a huge impending pressure on you in that standpoint where, Jesus, if I don't figure this out, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. And, I had sent some resumes out there, but all the other options were absolutely horrible. I didn't hear back from anybody. I mean, I was going to be working some cheap shit job if I was trying to go down a traditional route. And so there was a massive sort of, I don't even know if it was fear, but massive pressure to make it work. You know what I mean? There was a 100% focus and determination on what my actual goal was. There was nothing in between me and that. I had no plan B. So, that pressure, I think, can at times, and often at times, is instrumental to making the leap into entrepreneurship. Because I just don't know if we would do it otherwise. Sometimes the work that it takes, and there's just too much comfort. There's that, I was just reading a book about, called The Founder's Dilemma, and it's all this research and data based on entrepreneurs who start companies, and they found that, there's this theory of the golden handcuffs, or even the family handcuffs, or there's these factors that prevent entrepreneurs from starting businesses, or prevent people from starting businesses. If they have it too good, or there's enough security in place, like, people just are less likely to actually start a business if there's all these other factors that don't make the risk and the pain and the agony sort of almost make sense in a way, or worth it.
Right.
So there's something to be said. Yeah, there's something to be said about creating the conditions to where that pressure really exists on you to where if you believe in your dream enough, and this is truly your path, your destiny to find your happiness and create your dream life, then create the conditions to where there's going to be massive pressure on you if you don't do that. I mean, that's a way that it could work, you know?
Burn your ships. Burn the
ships. I mean, whatever. I tell people hear that and they say, oh, wow, that's easy for you to say. You know, you didn't have a family and kids and all that. Well, I can tell you right now, I have a family. Now I have one, and now I have a kid, and I'm burning the ships again right now with other endeavors that I'm working on. So I don't believe that. I believe that internally, like, it's who you are. It's just that's your nature as a person. Like, you just show up to the world that way, and that just is what makes you effective. I think it makes you so determined and focused that nothing else even gets in your way.
Yeah, I always love that word entrepreneur. It's French for unemployable. There is something, you know, my stubbornness and my issues with authority have worked really well in my favor as an entrepreneur.
Oh, that's
will not be denied, kind of thing, you know.
I mean, whoever would think that you would have authority defiance issues, Faith? Oh,
since I was a child. You know, when my mom passed away, I did the eulogy, and all these, you know, and then of course there's this big long reception line, and people would be coming up to me, and of course they were, you know, either laughing or in tears, thinking about my mom. She was a college professor, head of the English department at a 4-year Presbyterian college. Anyway, she was really an icon in our small community, and these people would come up and go, "Your mom was so stubborn, just like you."
That's classic.
You know, and you're thinking.
I appreciate your authority defiance, Faith. It's one of the qualities I love and admire about you the most. Your fierce, independent spirit.
I truly am, and that's something that, you know, we have in our DNA. And I really think that entrepreneurship is not for everyone, but I think it can be for a lot more people. And I think our world is changing so dramatically that it has to be for a lot more people, don't you? Because we're not, you know, the whole manufacturing and business as normal is already, the ship is already left. And that's not to even get into all the economic stuff, not to dwell on that, but there's an incredible opportunity that, in fact, there was some incredible thinker, and I can't think of his name right now, he said that we live in a world that we think that we need to work and get paid to have this. He said we're moving into a world where we need to just live our passion, you know, to really step into that space. And that shifts the whole work paradigm, because quite frankly, machines, and there's a lot of things that can do a lot of things that are really, you know, everyone says, well, jobs are disappearing. I said, well, those jobs, you know, you should be grateful those jobs are disappearing because it's presenting this incredible opportunity. However, our school system doesn't really teach people to be entrepreneurs. They teach people to be good employees. So this is where the shift has to happen on a grassroots level. Jonathan, what, you know, I know you had many defining moments, but do you have one particular moment, even in recent history, that was really a defining moment for you where this huge shift occurred inside of yourself? Because, you know, this is an ongoing personal development journey. So you want to share that? You can think of anything?
You know, that is a fantastic question, and you're so right. It's almost like stages of defining moments, right? You know, there's just one defining moment sort of defines a certain part of your career or life, and then another one defines the next, and another one defines the next, and Jesus, don't they ever end?
Never!
But, you know, I'd say recently the defining moment, there's been so many, but there's been this real realization, something crystallized in me about 10 months ago, where I realized that I can never work on any project again or do anything again that wasn't my absolute, what I call purpose. You know, what literally felt like this is my purpose. In the entire project, the entire business, from end to end, everything had to feel like purpose, or it wasn't it. It wasn't what I was meant to be doing.
In alignment is what I think of. I think
Totally.
an alignment where all the cells of your body just sort of say yes. It's like a...
All of them. Every cell says, yes, this is it on every single level. And there's no rationalizing, well, it's almost it, but, you know, screw it, because there's a lot of money that could be made. Or, you know, screw it, because, you know, it's a great opportunity. Or there's some rationalization that occurs in order to make it when it itself doesn't feel like it is it. You know, if that makes sense.
I can so relate to that. I've made some poor business decisions because of it, thinking that this is the practical thing to do, this is the thing I should do, this is whatever, yeah.
It's natural, and we all do it, right? It's totally natural, but I think there's just this point in the evolution of an entrepreneur, and a purpose-driven entrepreneur. I think it's the place that every one of us actually wants to be at, even if we're not there yet, we want to be at. That place where there is a 100% resounding yes, alignment, and purpose with what we're doing every day of our life, with how every cent of our energy gets spent. And I haven't been there in my entire career until now. And that doesn't mean that my career was wrong, right? Every single piece was an instrumental lesson, an instrumental skill set, an instrumental knowledge point, data point, instrumental creation of social capital and networks and assets, everything.
It all adds up.
But in and of itself, none of it was really it. None of it felt like this is my lifelong partner, this is my marriage, this is my destiny, you know? So that's the big shift lately.
You know, something I think really, and I say internet marketing just to use it as an example, I think so much of the time in network marketing we become married to companies per se, and the company's branding and the company's persona. You know, well, I'm with so-and-so, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that, but the realization I think people are having is that you need to discover your own inner who you are, and that becomes your brand. I hate to use the word brand because it sounds so, you know, whatever. It sounds like a product, but you do exude a persona, and even though it's part of the egoic part of our existence, it's still something that in this dimension, that's how we identify each other to some level. Hopefully we go deeper than that, but we have a persona, and that can become a brand online. And one of the things that I think a lot of people in network marketing, they think they have to compete with everyone, right? There's this big competition thing going on, and you know, there's not enough room for everybody, or there's only so much to go around. And I think the more you can really identify your core values and live from that place that your natural gifts, really focus on your gifts and whatever that evolution of your brand becomes, and it's always evolving, it never is static, but that changes the game, because now you're attracting, if you will, rather than just trying to play in this mediocrity, if you will. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Absolutely. What I'm hearing is basically there's a core attractiveness about us when we discover our core values and live from our core values and show up as our natural sort of present, you know, happy, loving self. I think that's the greatest asset anyone has in network marketing, because it's a freaking people business. It's a people relationship business. And who are the people we're most attracted to in our lives? You know, the authentic. Yes.
It's all about the connection. Oh, did you freeze on us? This is so good, too. Let's see if you get unfrozen. Oh, there you go. You were frozen for just a moment, but it was so powerful. It's really about the connection, and no one, you can't connect to a company brand, at least not in the same way that you connect with an individual.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Huge. No, that's it. That's all I was going to say.
Yeah, you froze. I know you were just giving some amazing gems. You know, really what we're skirting around here is that this is all a personal development journey, a spiritual journey, whatever label you want to put on it. You've really been transparent in the internet space as far as sharing your story. As far as, you know, you've had family of origin stuff, and there's a lot of things. You don't need to get too deep into it, but what were some of the things that, you know, obviously stepping out there in such a big way as an entrepreneur gave you, as you started, well, I guess the other question I want to ask you is that when the money started pouring in, you know, when everything started, you know, going, you know, it's all going great, everything's happening, you obviously had some other things going on, belief systems, experiences that started to emerge. You know, what came up for you, and how did you feel about, you know, all this cash flow when you hadn't experienced that before?
Well, I think what, you know, there's two questions there. I think the first one is speaking to the healing journey, right? Because there's a definite personal development side of this business. There's a business development side of this business. You're developing the skills. You're sharpening your axe. You're developing your mindset. You're expanding your mind. But then there's really a healing development side of this journey, which is what happens when your pain gets triggered, right? And you know, all of a sudden you're in fear, or you're doubting yourself, or you're beating yourself up, or you're insecure, or a relationship goes sour, and you don't trust, or this or that. There's this whole sort of shadow, you know, side of ourselves that really can get highlighted as we build businesses and step into creating our dreams, because those are the parts of ourselves that are holding us back. Truly, that's what's. It's like luggage, you know, all this luggage we're carrying around from our past. That is really times we've been wounded in our lives, scars we're carrying, pain we're carrying, and everybody, because there's such a lack of, and I don't say this to, you know, patronize, it's just the truth. There's a lack of emotional awareness in our society and in our culture. A massive lack of emotional awareness. We're not aware of how our emotions and the origin of our emotions affects us and affects the decisions and choices that we make in our lives and in our business. And so a lot of times we're operating from an old program, an old pattern, and making decisions without even realizing the source of that decision making. And so that is a huge part of any entrepreneur's success, is, I believe, the healing journey. And now they're implementing across the whole corporate culture, all the rage is EQ. What is EQ? It's emotional intelligence. And they're literally testing executives and management of teams and making sure that they score high EQs prior to hiring these people, because they've been able to find that people with low EQ are major freaking liabilities inside of an organization. That's where you get into control issues, control freaks, and relationship dynamics going totally, you know, out of control. And so I can't, you know, stress enough the importance of investing in your EQ. And so that's what I've been doing the last 3-4 years of my life. Almost the primary focus has been the healing journey. Whereas before that, there was this massive outward focus of building the business. There was a deep internal focus of sort of spirituality and developing my spiritual understanding of life, which I also believe massively helps us navigate the terrains of life more successfully. But then I realized, as all these things sort of, everything was, quote, on the surface, all you could ask for, there was still this, almost this unresolved and unprocessed emotional component to life. And that started to surface through my injury and the surgery that I went through, and some relationship dynamics and all these things. And that's when I really began, I think, the deepest healing journey of my life, where I really truly focused through therapy and, you know, conferences and, you know, workshops and everything under the sun, right? Discussions and, you know, you name it. self practices. I really focused, intently for probably the last 2 years now, more than 2 years almost, on the healing journey itself, and that's where I think I've achieved the biggest breakthrough in my life in that regard so far. So I think that all is playing a part into what comes next for me, which I cannot share just yet, but people will see very soon. And it's,
Well, I was going to say, Jonathan, that something that's very important to me, and because it just resonates, it makes sense, is self-love. So I'm on my quest of discovering who I am ongoingly and really cultivating an environment and self-love with myself. I actually had an amazing experience back in my early 30s where I did an exercise where I looked in a mirror and told myself I love myself, and I did that twice a day, and in 30 days my life completely transformed.
wow.
One challenge, though, I didn't keep the practice up, and it doesn't always have to be in front of a mirror, but just that whole mantra of I love you is so powerful because it shifts everything at a very cellular level. And even when things come up that are uncomfortable, to even love the shadow, to love the emotions that are coming up, if we can exude enough, hold enough love around whatever is coming up. I just found that to be absolutely profound. And so I just so enjoy your journey because I can so relate to it. I'm sure a lot of other people feel the same way. Well, the last part of this interview is just to say, are there any final thoughts about, there's a lot of people out there that would like to be an entrepreneur, but maybe been afraid to get started, or people that are, trying to do something, but they're just not getting traction, or, what would you say would be a couple of things that they should immediately, I would say personal development for sure, but what would be the things that you would say would be instrumental in helping them move along their journey?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think there's two things to moving forward, and it's a delicate balance because if you go off and if you get too extreme in either one, you throw the whole thing off. But there's, number one is sort of this self-inquiry phase, which is, what is in the way of me and taking the actions that I want to take every day to create my dream life. What am I afraid of? Where is the source of that fear coming from? What emotional blocks, mental blocks, physical blocks are stopping me, and why? So there's this deep sort of self-inquiry process, and that oftentimes can lead to some powerful insights. And then the second part is actually just doing it. There's just this certain element of you just have to be freaking doing it, because there's no other way that you're going to truly build confidence and truly overcome obstacles and truly move forward. I mean, you can self-inquire all freaking day long, and you're never gonna, if you don't do anything, nothing's going to happen. So there's this balance, and then at the same token, you could just be a chicken with its head cut off, and 24 months from now, you're like, shit, how the hell did I spend $30,000 and I didn't do shit, and I'm still, in the same exact place. Oh, so yeah. There's this dual skill that really needs to be required of true inquiry and intelligent planning, and not trying to go too fast before you're ready, but also not going too slow, and really moving at a healthy pace that unfolds in a productive manner where you're refining your skill sets, but you're not overextending yourself to the point where you're potentially wasting time or energy. There's this real balance there. And so I invite you to explore that balance and do it at the same time that you're inquiring. And the last piece that I think almost renders all of this obsolete and is something that's not meant for everybody. I'll just go out and say this. I think that there's certain people who just, our motivations are different, right? If your motivations are, I just want to build a cool business and create this dream lifestyle and income, you're going to approach it from a standpoint of follow what I just, shared with you. Be inquisitive, and do it intelligently. Take action, in conjunction with, you know, you're planning and don't overextend and waste time and money. But then there's this other group of people who just have this like insane calling in life. And it's like you have a vision and there's something that is just beating inside your freaking chest. And you have to do it. And honestly, there's nothing that's going to stop you once you find that calling or that vision. Now, that's not to say you're not going to make mistakes and you're going to suffer and there's going to be insane moments of agony and despair because you're pretty much like the bull running through the china shop, and there's not much that's going to stop you, and you're going to knock over a shit ton of china, but at the end of the day, you're also going to knock over all the obstacles that are in your way, and nothing's ever going to stop you. So, you know, there's those almost two camps, and you find out which one you want to be in, and then just do it. But nothing can stop the entrepreneur whose vision is bigger than they are and whose calling in life is that vision.
You know, it's so true, and I think letting go of the perfection game. You know, it's all when everything is lined up, then I can do it, right? I think it really, and I probably identify with both of those groups. There's that part of me that wants the security and everything to be orderly, and then there's this other part of me that's just jump in, you'll figure it out as you go along. I'm a little bit of...
The key to jump in and you'll figure it out is that you truly can never stop. Like, because if there's even an inkling of doubt or like an inkling of like, well, I might get off the train at some point, you are truly just going to be a bull in a china shop that never gets out of the china shop. So the key is like when you make that choice, you've got to be in it all the freaking way. That's when you burn the bridges, and that's when it works.
Yes! Thank you. Outstanding, Jonathan. I knew this would be amazing. And you know, the beauty is you don't even have to know how it's going to be amazing. You just got to trust the process. Jonathan, Bud, thank you so much. For those of you that are watching this replay of the video, you can find it on faithbernard.com or my YouTube channel, or just look up The Holistic Entrepreneur. Jonathan, you're such a servant leader. Thank you for your contributions and everything that's yet to come. Have an outstanding day, and thanks, everyone.